Hey Flosstube, Elena B here, back from a 9-month hiatus. Yeah, this is like an awkward start. It's been so long. For probably the mass majority of people who are watching this and have no idea who I am, my name's Elena. I made like 8 or 9 Flosstubes about a year ago, and so let's see, last 9 months, a lot has happened. Nothing major. I still live in the exact same apartment in San Francisco. Still got the bakery. Olivia's still my sister. She hasn't been able to get rid of me yet. Yeah, not a whole lot, like a lot, but then not a lot. You know how it is. But I've been thinking about coming back to Flosstube for the last few weeks and was just watching my good friend, I have her like right on the TV right there. My good friend Elena, who is on Flosstube, is so grateful. I was just watching her latest video and she inspires me in many ways, but I just thought, okay, maybe today's the day. It's a 6-day week today at the shop because my dad's on vacation. So today's the first afternoon that I get off, and so I got a little bit of time. My neighbors sound like they're not home, which I hope, because these walls are really thin and they definitely could hear me with like 18 intros, because again, how do you come back after that many months of being gone? So yeah, that's it. Let's see. I don't even know where to start anymore. I will start with some whips. So let's backtrack real quick. I lost my stitchy bug for months, and which was part of the reason why I stopped recording the videos, was because I didn't have a whole lot to record and I was in a bit of a stitchy funk. And another part of it was that I had so many whips. Now, let me preface this with, I am not whip shaming anyone. You are supposed to have as many whips as you want. If you want to do a start a day, bless your heart, you do you. But I started to have so many whips that it just really made me overwhelmed and uncomfortable. And it was part of the reason why I stopped stitching, was I felt like every time I started something, I was really into it and this is gonna be so cool when it's done. And then started to think like, yeah, but am I ever really gonna finish this? And what about this whip and that whip? And it just really stressed me out. Like, it really stressed me out. And I started to miss how it was pre-Flosstube and pre all of this. I love all of this, but you'll understand what I mean, is that it's one of those things where it's like you find yourself buying new patterns because that person has that pattern and that's really cool and I really want to stitch that and I want to do this and I want to do that. And here I have this collection of patterns, not to mention floss, which I still love, and fabric, and it was belonging to all these clubs that it just got really overwhelming, and I missed the days of when it really was just one whip at a time for $7 that I kitted up at Michael's. So Olivia had the great idea, my sister Olivia B, who's also on Flosstube, OG Flosstube. She had the great idea that I just give her all my whips and she would keep them at her house, and that I needed some distance and one new start, and to just focus on that new start. And that was by far the most brilliant idea I think she's ever had. I'm kidding. Yeah, so I basically gathered up all of my whips in the bags, complete mess, just like they were in my cabinet, and Olivia took them all, and I finally was able to finish something. By the time they were all out of the apartment, it was like a weight had been lifted. In the meantime, I've asked for a pattern or two back, or a whip or two back, but for the most part, it has freed me up to start stitching more. With that said, I didn't get any stitching done this week. You know, I think it's just one of those things that if I get super stressed out at work, then I cannot calm down enough to be able to sit for an hour and even be able to stitch. Whereas when things are going smoothly at work, I can sit and stitch for like a good 6 or 7 hours, which was like 2 weeks ago. And then of course, you know, it hits the fan and there's just no time or energy to sit down and be able to focus properly. But with that said, I have 4 whips to share. 4. Yeah, it was 1. And then I finished that one, and then it turned into 2. And then it was like, okay, well, let's pull that one out from Olivia's house. And then there's 3. And 4 is really, really good for me right now. So first one, I started this. So Serge and I, this is all going to come with a tail, by the way. It's been too long, so just be prepared. So this is a whip that I started stitching on a very recent trip to Spain with Serge. We went to Spain for 2 weeks for one of my best friend's weddings. They got married in Marbella, which was like the Spanish Riviera. It was beautiful. We were put up in a resort that was like the nicest thing I think I will ever stay at. Like it included like a buffet breakfast, but not how I am used to a buffet breakfast where people show up in sweatpants and there's like, you know, an omelet station. This was like champagne. People were wearing $1,000 dresses to this buffet breakfast where I was like, oh, my overalls might not be appropriate at this resort. They had honeycomb, like sheets of honeycomb straight off the hive. There was filet at the breakfast. I mean, like it was over the top, and that was for 5 days. And the wedding was amazing. They had they basically had the Elton John of the Middle East. His name is Amir Diab, perform during the salad course. They had a little truck that had nothing but hand-rolled Cuban cigars for the guests. It was like a wedding that was like if you combined the royal wedding with the Oscars and prom all in one. And I spent easily the last 10 months on Weight Watchers getting ready for that wedding. I spent about the same amount of time working on all of my wardrobe for this wedding. Like it was a once in a lifetime experience for a friend who means more than anything. And because you guys are the only people who are gonna get this. So here we're at this really super fancy wedding, and my friend, who I will insert a picture of him with a cross stitch that I did from the Quran for one of his birthdays a few years ago. He's like the most fabulous cross stitch model, maybe second to Serge. I feel like it's a really close tie, but of course I'm partial to both really. So anyway, so at the end of the wedding, not even the end of the wedding, it was like 4 a.m. and they had just moved to the dancing segment. As a baker, I was like, we gotta go home and sleep. But one of his friends comes up to me, one of my friends' friends comes up to me and he says, oh, are you his friend from San Francisco? And I was like, yeah, I'm his friend from San Francisco. And man, you were the one who made him that piece, sewed him that piece, you know, with the stitches in the office. And it turns out it was a coworker of him. And here he comes up in the wedding to just give me a compliment about my cross stitching. And I was like, life done. You know what? If I'm here in Marbella in evening wear and a handsome gentleman comes over to me and randomly asks if I was the one who cross stitched something and how much he loves it. Yeah, it was, I don't want to say it was the highlight because it was an amazing wedding, but yeah, I was standing there like all flustered and just like, oh my God, thank you so much. I can't believe. And Serge was just like, yeah. Anyway, so on this trip as a, because they were super generous and like flew Serge and I out there and put us up there for this wedding, as a thank you gift to my friend's parents, I am cross-stitching a commemorative piece that I started over there from Modern Folk. I only have the actual pattern, and because we don't share that sort of thing, I'm gonna just show you this. This is a quarter of the way done. I cannot remember who made my fabric. I don't remember. I know, you know what? I want to say that it's Little Bunny by X Jude in 40 count. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. So yeah, it's modern folk. I love modern folk patterns. This is 1/4 of it, so obviously it's gonna be mirrored into one solid piece. I'm using a Silks for You floss. No clue what it is at all. None. I bought it a long time ago and I made myself use it on this. So yeah, and then I'm gonna put the couple's names and the date of the wedding and frame it for his parents. Cause like I didn't, you know, like at a certain point you kind of don't know what to buy people, and I figured they already were impressed by the first cross stitch I did to him. So figured what says thank you more than all the time and effort that goes into our handiwork. And Serge said he'd frame it. He does the finishing. So that's whip number 1, modern folk. Like the story was longer than sharing it, but yeah. Yeah. I'm a little concerned because the pattern, I know this how dumb this is gonna sound, but because the pattern is just, you just get the one corner and then you're just supposed to keep flipping it, I'm worried I'm gonna mess it up somehow because I only kind of pay attention when I stitch. I know that's surprising. So yeah, so that's that. And all throughout Spain on the train, that did make me want to puke a little bit, but but once I got over the nausea of stitching on a high-speed train, it was pretty smooth sailing. Serge and I also went to Madrid and Barcelona, and in Barcelona, we met Scott Stitches in Spain. This is his Instagram handle. Scott reached out on Instagram and was like, hey, look, if you're in Barcelona, you know, I'd love to meet up. And I didn't know Scott before this, full disclosure. And so I was like, okay, you know, and he commented on a couple photos and mentioned it. And, you know, people will say that, we all know this. People will say like, hey, yeah, let's meet up. But then you don't know if they're actually serious that they want to meet up with like someone that you know from Flosstube. And Scott was totally down for it. And Scott reached out again and said, which you should never say to me because I promise you that those feelings are just misplaced. Scott was like, I don't want to be creepy, never creepy. If we had not met up with Scott and his family on the trip, it would have still been a great trip, but not nearly as magical. So Scott Stitches in Spain. He is from the US and he is in Barcelona with his family. And just great people. Scott has great taste stitching wise. His style I feel like is similar to mine in the sense that it's a little bit of everything. But even better than Scott's stitching is Scott himself. So definitely check him out on Instagram. Scott would be Flosstube Gold. Flosstube Gold. Like meeting Scott, it was like how he's not on here, but if you're friends with Scott already, congratulations. He's the world's best guy. Absolutely love him. Hilarious. Oh, I'm inserting my prom pictures with Scott. If we meet up, you will have to prom pose with me. But yeah, I think we make a really cute couple, but just saying. So definitely check out Scott. Scott, if you're watching this, can't wait to meet again. Okay. And, yeah, Madrid, Barcelona, super cool. With Scott, also tapas, lots of museums. I'll insert some photos. We went to a palace, did a little yacht shopping. No one had enough closet space, but Daylene Wilson and I have some ideas of how we're going to take over the palace and maybe put on some stitching retreats. Just saying, I don't know who's going to bankroll that. Daylene's got to start selling those pickles. Just saying. Okay, so this next whip is a sad tale. If you are at all familiar with my Flosstube videos, you will know that in the very early videos, I started All Souls Veerlanden by Quiltify Design from Etsy, okay? I do not have a copy of the finished pattern because I've been doing it off of my iPad, but a lot of people have started stitching this. There's even a really cool Sal that was started months ago that I was supposed to start with, but I gave away all my whips. So I started All Souls, I want to say close to 2 years ago, and I was chugging along. And when I originally started, I'd seen the pattern because of Maddie, my friend Maddie, who goes by Happy Go Stitchy on Instagram. She had started it, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. This was in the very, very early days of me stitching, and it was like the first day of me watching Flosstube and getting into that, and I saw one of her, she was stitching it, and she had posted on Instagram. So I immediately bought it. Olivia helped me kit it up, and I took it to my trip to Paris. There's a video that corresponds to that trip if you want to see what LNSs in Paris look like. But because it was the early stages and it was the first time I ever stitched on linen, I didn't calculate the size of linen right. And a couple of months ago, I had just gotten the stitchy bug back, and I was going and going and going, only to realize that I was not going to have enough fabric, period. Like, not if I left off the sampler letters, not if I left off the border, like I was only going to have like 6 motifs, and I did not want to go through all of the time and effort to stitch such a cool and awesome piece on that size without being able to complete it. Not to mention, I promised it to my boyfriend Serge, who has been in love with that pattern from the early days as well. And I just wanted to do it right. So I had to scrap it. I think I have a picture of how far I got along with it. I don't even know where it is anymore. I think it's with Olivia and the bag of whips, because I couldn't even look at it. Like, it sucked. And the colors I chose were really good. And a lot of those flosses were like Victorian Motto sampler that she didn't have any left in. So I wasn't even gonna probably have enough floss to mistakes were made, but I recommitted to starting it from scratch for Serge. And Serge, the sweet, naive man that he is, bless his heart, made the mistake of saying, hey, look, not only am I going to pay to kit it up for you this time around, but in the future, if you stitch something for me, and I want to say about 85% of what I stitch goes to Serge, if you're going to stitch something for me, I'm going to just kit it up for you. I get to pick it, he gets to pay for it. Like, that's a good man. That's a good man. Not a smart man, because I don't think he understands that now it's like silks and linen. So, yeah, this is where I become a really bad girlfriend, because I asked for 2 different linen options from Jude, and they were big pieces. So we ordered, trying to see, let me see, 1 second. Okay, so as a big Jude fan, that's what I went with. So option number 1 was jack-o'-lantern and 40 count. This one was the one I really wanted to stitch it on. What he ended up choosing was, because then I went ahead and bought the other one that I liked, which is 40 count, was it called Witch's Brew? It's not Elixir, because Elixir's the green one, but it was a trilogy of of Halloween-y fabric, and this was it. Serge's favorite color is aubergine, not just purple, aubergine. That's what he likes to say. And he felt that this was, although not aubergine, that it was purpley, and he wanted it purpley. So this is my restart. This is probably about, I want to say, a week in. This is the first motif. It is a lot of motifs. And I am doing this. We went to our LNS, which is Needle in a Haystack in Alameda. I love Needle in a Haystack. And he bought me, I started the motif in Threadworks. It's this color, but yeah, there you got a number on it. Yeah, I don't know what it's called. It doesn't have the name on it, but I honestly think it might actually be called aubergine. It is ever so slightly variegated. I like a good variegation for a sampler. But I mean, I kind of let him choose the colors. The other colors that I might do some of the motifs in, it's a lot of motifs, is Cinders. They had a really good Cinders there by Gentle Art. I always get color, what is it? Weekstag Works, and I was confused. The Cinders that I had only was like jet black with a tiny speck of pink. So that wasn't gonna work. And Olivia said, make sure to check out theirs. So I got a couple of these. Royal Purple. None of this is showing out well because of that kimono behind me. Probably also because I'm wearing a kimono now that I think of it. So Royal Purple and, oh, this is limited edition Gentle Arts Cabernet. So I'm not sure what I'm going to end up using in it. I don't think that I'm going to, attention span wise, be able to stitch it all in just the Threadworks. And I don't know where I put it, but I have some Petite Treasure braid in metallic black that I'm also going to work into there. Not sure how. Not sure how. I need to get through that. That 40 count is, like, I really love Extrude, but, man, like, it's just a tight 40 count. But it looks great. It looks great in the sense. Getting a robocall in the middle of a floss tube is some BS that I just can't handle. So excuse the odd break. So yeah, I think the original version, I was doing it in 28 count. And so this is 40. So I like that it's a lot smaller stitches. It is such tight weave though that it's just a lot harder. I need to make sure that I have my light. Like I can't do this laying in bed or something like that. I tried, I almost went blind. So yeah, All Souls Vierlanden by Quiltify Design. I don't know what to tell you. I really like this one. Going into fall, that'll be a good one. I don't really stitch Halloween. I did last year. I did a Chessie and Me one for Olivia. If I never have to do another specialty stitch again after that, I will be more than happy. Doing 1/1 on 32 count, not really my thing. Not really my thing, but made Olivia happy and that makes me happy. So there you have it. Okay, moving on. Next whip. This, I can't do it justice because I have this thing full of my next whip, but I just want to say that this project bag came from Christine, Stitch All the Things, Slaughter, who I met at McKenna's retreat. I went to a retreat, guys. See, all the things you've missed. And it was a lot of fun, but I got to meet a lot of ladies that I've wanted to meet for a really long time. And Christine Slaughter is like at the all-time top of that list. She is, and I've gotten asked this by other stitchers who I've seen since then. She's exactly how you would think she would be. Like then and more some. And her hair is just as beautiful and shiny. It smells like dreams and magic as you would hope. But Christine Slaughter is just an impressive woman, not only with all of her crafting skills, but I saw a level of just humble grace, which I know sounds weird, but if you get the opportunity to meet Christine, you will not be disappointed. And she just is an extremely special person, as we all know. But just so approachable and happy to see you and just full of happiness and sass. So yeah, Christine, if you're watching this, I don't swear in my floss tubes, but I would because that's how much I love you and I think you're just genuinely an awesome human being. I'd vote for you for president. So yeah, so she made me this bag, which do I sleep with it at times? We snuggle. I don't know if you can tell, but it's like glittery vinyl, and then this pattern is like, there's so much stuff in here. But it has like, this is also really quilted. it has like a whole gnome scene to it, Christmas gnome scene. It's like Christmas threw up in a project bag, and that is basically how I want to live my life. It's quilted. I don't, if anyone caught my last video 10 years ago, I was talking about making project bags. Like, this is a level of witchcraft that I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Oh man, I can totally hear my neighbor next door, which means he can totally hear my Flosstube, and that's gotta be weird. It's also, I think it's like teenage guys, but they have like a whole sewing room in their apartment, and so maybe they're one of us. I don't know. Okay, so this whip is the mushroom sampler. This is from, I'm just gonna insert it because I hate having to pronounce stuff in French with not being able to speak French. It's just the gross accent. I feel embarrassed. But I got this on for Christmas after seeing it in Paris, and I saw the sampler stitched up, and it was magic. Like, I remember standing there with my dad and being like, that is the coolest thing ever. And so I asked for it for Christmas, and of course Olivia hooked a sister up, and I've had it. But this was also in the early days of stitching with linen, and it just took me forever. And so I was just really overwhelmed by it. Really overwhelmed by the floss. So I'd also never worked with a kit. I don't think I've ever worked with a kit since. It's just things of floss, right? And it gets kind of messy. Olivia gave me this like floss organizer thing, but I had no idea what to do with it. No idea what to do. I'm gonna show you, and then you're gonna laugh and be like, oh, Elena, that's so easy. She got me this thing, and I don't have the heart to be like, well, now she's gonna know. Now you know. I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, like, I get maybe I'm supposed to loop it, but then do you wrap? And it has symbols. Oh. The thing with the kit that really bothers me is it stresses me out. What if I don't have enough floss? Like, what if I run out of floss? And now you're giving me, like, what is the DMC conversion? What do they do? Do you call them up? I don't speak French. How am I supposed to be like, hey, I'm out of the little star color. What is it? So yes, mushroom sampler. When this is completed, I'm stitching it for my dad. Serge's gonna have it framed. We're gonna put it up in their kitchen. I told them that if they don't give me this one specific wall space, I'll take the wall space next to it, which is where Olivia stitched something for my mom. And I was like, you're gonna have to take it down and replace it with mine. They would never do that. Olivia would kill me, but it would be funny. I might actually just do it and then have her see it and be like, haha, but she wouldn't. She'd disown me. Olivia, I won't do that, I promise. So, and that smack talking segues into how close I am to being finished. I'm an idiot. So yeah, Olivia, maybe when you're like 48, I'll be doing that. But yeah, so I finally got the toadstool one done, and now I'm working on this one right here, which are, it's gonna be chanterelles. Chanterelles. Yeah. It's floss color combinations, so it's like a purple and a gray. And it's two different combos. It's the same purple and a light gray, same purple and a dark gray. And they're so close together that I got them mixed up. So now it's going to be all two different colors, and I don't know. I don't think, like, the mass majority of it's right, but then it went wrong, and I don't think that you will be able to notice once I put the back stitching in, but it bummed me out. Like, I didn't want to mess up that early on. But again, like, you know, even 2 years later, and I'm used to stitching on linen now, and I think that I've sped up quite a bit. That type of thing this is definitely just not what I'm used to stitching wise. The pattern is huge. That floss stresses me out. Olivia's probably gonna show me how to use that thingy when I see her this weekend. out of just embarrassment. But that is the mushroom sampler. Ginger Gerald just finished his, and that's what made me ask Olivia to bring it back from her home, was that it's just finished. It is just so cool, and I don't think you see something like that often. So again, I'll put the name of it with the maker. They ship to America. In my opinion, it's expensive. I think the pattern and the kit was $85. I guess in hindsight, maybe not, but yeah, that was still a lot. And then you have to ship it from France. But my dad's definitely worth it, and the end product's gonna be awesome. So that's 3, 4. Okay, this is the last one. This is also one of my all-time favorite people. This is an Evertotes project bag. Wait for it. That was specifically made for me. I don't want to brag, okay? I don't want to be douchey about it, but when some of the lovely ladies of the loveliest ladies of Flosstube make you bags, I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, Caroline made this. It's a pastry tea theme. Yeah, it makes me cry. I just love these ladies. Caroline made me a bag, guys. Don't hate, but I understand if you do. And this is housing. Please tell me the name is on the pattern, but it's in Russian. This is the whale kit. So McKenna sells the whale kit. What is it called? Al Forestry Embroidery. I think it's that. I'll insert it, but I might be right. If I'm right, high five it, Elena. So Serge bought this kit because I'm stitching it for him. Serge is Russian. And I mean, a lot of people have done this one, but it's just really cool. It comes with all the floss, obviously, because it's a kit. I actually switched out the fabric for 40 count because I like 40 count fabric. But yeah, so chugging along, little fishies, front part of the whale. Let's see, do I have, oh, so I'm sure I'm not the only person who has these. I will also include who I got these off of for Etsy. But Serge purchased me all of these bunny bobbins, and then he also got me llama bobbins off of Etsy. They're wood. They're not like necessarily cheap, but they're reusable. And reusability is important, don't get me wrong, but adorableness is also important. And they're little bunnies. And so I bobbinated them, which is a word, onto these little wood ones for this kit. They're just too cute. So anyway, check them out. They're from the Ukraine. I think I want the hedgehogs next. They also come in slots. Wiener dogs. So yeah, I really enjoy stitching this whale kit. Just kind of plowing through these here. This whale kit, again, I think it's like the second kit that I've done. It's great. It's a fun pattern to stitch. I like that it's large pieces of color and it's just coming up real nice. That 40 count. I have no idea what the color was. I think it's like flax. It was cheap. I got it off of 1-2-3 Stitch. So those are the whips, guys. Next I have 2 finishes. Boom, don't be jealous. That's Tea Time Duck. So this right here is called Tea Time by Lily Violette. You can get it off of 1-2-3 Stitch. That's where I got it. I did it in Called For DMC. The only thing I changed was I did Tea Time in red instead of black. I don't know if I would have made that change now that I've seen it, but it works. When I got my stitchy bug back, this was the first thing that I stitched, and I stitched it for myself. I don't stitch for myself. I don't put up my own stitching, But Tea Time Duck is going to be going in the kitchen. I'm going to be finishing it with the hoop, and by me, I mean Serge. I even asked him to maybe put pom-poms on the hoop. So yeah, he's got to get his little bear paws ready with that glue gun and hook a sister up. I am not a sister, that'd be weird. Having a rough day. Anywho, so yeah, Tea Time Duck. I love it. Look, I mean, like, it's like Sherlock Holmes mixed with the duck. I have had the pattern in a addressed envelope for Drew Weasley for the last 3-4 months, sitting in my work drawer. I don't think Drew watches Flosstube. I don't know, but if you are, it's sitting there, and I'm just like the world's worst stitchy friend. So that's Tea Time Duck. And then my latest finish, this is what I've actually finished since my last Flosstube. So 8-9 months, this is what I achieved. Just to make it obvious that it's how MIA have been. I'm kind of surprised that I finished this piece, just because it is also a stitching style that I'm not used to. I saw this online and was like, that's Serge. It's a portrait of Serge. It is a bear in an aubergine sweater, no pants, with a mug of tea. Like, that is basically as close to Serge as you're gonna get. So yeah, he's adorable, but obviously a lot of back stitching and a lot of color changes that were very similar. I did this in DMC. I really enjoyed the stitching style. And now I'm noticing that I didn't finish a part of his sleeve. Well, it's a good thing he didn't frame it yet. He was, I had to tell him, like, hey, by the way, I gotta take the bear with me home so I can do a Flosstube with it. And he had just gotten the frame, and he got an oval frame off of Etsy to frame it in. And now I'm realizing that I'm not as dumb as I thought I was. Oopsie poopsie. So yeah, I just noticed it's like this part of the sleeve right there. It did not obviously call for polka dot fabric. They wanted snow stitched all over it, like little, it wasn't supposed to be French knots, but it kind of, I thought, hey, you know what? This will probably guarantee that I'll get it finished if I don't have to worry about it. It still looks like snow. It works for me. This pattern is called Brown Bear by Mika Stitch Design. It is from the collection of designs that are just called Animal and Sweaters with Mug. And literally, it's every animal you could think of in a sweater holding a mug with it snowing. Like, there's a goose. I think that there's bunnies. There are, I think there's like a porcupine. It's just like a lot of cuteness. So yeah, so that's a Russian pattern that I just downloaded off of Etsy. And he was really happy, I was really happy, and when I'm done with this video, I'm gonna have to go ahead and fix that all up. So those are the two finishes. I have not purchased much, so there's not a whole lot to share. I canceled all my subscriptions, which was a good idea financially, especially considering we had that trip to Spain and those outfits weren't cheap. And just without stitching, it was like, okay, well, I can't just keep buying stuff and not be stitching, period. Like, it's one thing if I'm starting all of it, it's another if I'm just hoarding all of it. And again, that's no shame. I live in 700 square feet. Space is limited. But what I did purchase was, I saw this on the way back from Spain on Instagram. And it was in the form of a peony sampler. I tried to purchase the book that the peony sampler came out of, because peonies are my favorite flower. And it was on eBay for like $175 or something like that, the book. And that's crazy town. You know, to not know if you're actually going to be finishing something and just starting it, like, no. But I loved the pattern maker's, the designer's style. and I had never seen anything like it before. Her name is, it's French, Marie-Thérèse Saint, oh, yeah, okay, inserted. And I picked up 2 of the cheaper books that I could find. This one is called Voyages, and she just has this really cool watercolor. I'm trying to find a good example for you here. Got some floss on the floor. This one, the whole book, this Voyages one is like vacation seaside patterns. There we go. So these lighthouses, and I just love how they're like vague sketches. This is what I had started. So it's like a series of 3 seasons and the trees, and you can just see how cool these are. The only problem is the pattern. Okay, so we're gonna do it this way. This is the color key, okay? And it tells me the DMC colors, but it's all done just by color blocks. These patterns, try stitching it from here. Seriously, try stitching it with the book and let me know, okay? But hypothetically, back here, you can see that these are tiny patterns. They don't do it in symbols, they do it in colors. The patterns are done in the colors. But with these trees, which was what I really bought it because I wanted to stitch these trees, was the fact that all of them, for the green one, are different shades of green that are only subtly off. The pattern's so small, I can't tell which one is which. That sucks. I got super frustrated. Just give me some symbols to work off of. It was a $45 book, and now I'm too frustrated to figure that out. There's other patterns in there where the color variations are a lot easier to see, but still you gotta blow that stuff up on the printer. Symbols. Just give us some symbols. Don't make this harder than it has to be. It's already not easy. Just my feelings, just my thoughts and feelings, guys, but I'm not happy about that. So anyway, that's that one book. This is the next book. There you have it, right there. You pronounce that for yourself, okay? This is mainly plants and nature. So there, this is what it looks like. Again, it's like these sparse patterns. And then she does this cool thing. Can you see that right there where it's like you put the floss into it, so the colors that you used? That's cool. It's like a whole bird section. And they showed the different color variations that you can do. Yeah, pansies. I think there's one peony in here. I think there might be cabbage. Oh, look at this. Cherry blossoms. How cool is that? So anyway, this book, the patterns, I think, do include symbols. Wait, oh. That's right. Has the pattern packet. Symbols. Anywho, so aside from not being able to pronounce her name or the title of the book, super cool. She also has, I think, a book of roses. Those books are pricey. I think this one was the cheapest out of the 2. One was $45 and the other one was $27. So the Voyages might have been $27 because I think that's the newest. But either way, maybe everyone else is familiar with this designer. I sure wasn't, and super excited to find it. Probably not gonna be stitching it anytime soon though, let's be real. Because I got these 4 whips here that I gotta work on. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know what else to tell you. I just kind of wanted to say hi. Sorry I've been gone so long. Maybe no one cares. Maybe some people care. Maybe I don't post the video. Maybe I do. I don't know. But I do miss it. In worst case scenario, you always can find me on Instagram because I'm there all the time. yeah, that's about it. Shout outs, of course, Scott and Stitches in Spain, and Daylene, who is on Flosstube and blew up on Flosstube. Daylene is one of my original Flosstube friends. Daylene means the world to me. When Serge was gone for 3 months last summer, Daylene sent me a card every week. Daylene is a friendship that I feel slightly guilty about, if not a little more than slightly. Daylene is always there for me, writes me these great emails with pictures about what she's up to with her lovely husband, Mr. Wright. And I am like the worst corresponder of all time. I'm like the world's worst pen pal, and she is like the world's best. Like, I do not deserve her. Daylene is so wonderful that we even have a cookie at the bakery that is Daylene's ginger snap recipe, and we sell it as Daylene's ginger snap. I mean, I don't want to say Daylene's a better baker than me, but I'll have to be honest with you, she is. Like, ginger snap recipe alone, and it's not the first recipe I've gotten from Daylene. Like, I remember baking that cookie for the first time, and I don't think, I mean, we all at the bakery were like, this is the best ginger snap of a lifetime. Like, and we didn't even have some of the specialty ingredients that she has. I don't want to say that she uses a special salt that she makes herself, but she does. So if you are not familiar with Daylene, who goes by So Grateful on Flosstube, check her out. Daylene is so much more than cross stitch. Daylene is quilts. She is pickling. She is joy. She is love. She is all around awesome. She has chickens. I want to just touch base again on the pickles, because in her latest episode, which is the first Flosstube I've watched in like 6 or 7 months, all it is pickles behind Daylene. Beautiful quilt, but let's focus on the pickles. I just feel like Daylene makes the best pickles. She kind of makes the best everything. Also follow her on Instagram. That's her Instagram handle, because she'll also post like some of the stuff she makes and bakes. That Daylene. So yeah, I love me Daylene. Check out Daylene. She is good people. Probably some of the best people. I have yet to meet her in person, but I have a feeling 2020 might be our year. The world might implode, though, if Daylene and I get together. It just might be too much fierceness and too much joy. Too much. But maybe still not enough. So yeah, guys, that's all I got. I also have a cookie. I do, now I'm talking about Daylene. Tomorrow is our chocolate chip cookie contest. Oh, that smells good. At the bakery. So 6 of us, including Serge, had to make a chewy chocolate chip cookie. Chewy chocolate chip cookie, couldn't have anything fancy in it. Well, it could, but it has to just be a chewy chocolate cookie. No nuts. We have a lot of different chocolate chip cookies at the bakery, but no basic chewy chocolate chip cookie. When we find out that we're missing something in the assortment, I think like a couple times ago, it was a brownie, something like that, then we'll hold a competition and everyone has to bring in their own recipe. You have an hour and a half to make it. Think Best British Bake Off. So tomorrow is the chocolate chip cookie competition. I took the recipe from America's Test Kitchen. America's Test Kitchen is my tried and true. I use it all the time for anything, whether it's at the bakery or at home. This is their chewy chocolate chip cookie recipe trick. Melted butter and 1 egg plus 1 egg yolk. And basically they did a Toll House cookie recipe, but then changed it. I just love that they always have the food science behind it, which I obviously professionally find really interesting. I learned a lot about chocolate chip cookies just by researching it through their book. So yeah, so tomorrow's that. We have, I think, including us who work at the bakery, I think it's something like 23 judges. Everyone gets the cookies individually wrapped with a number on them. So 1 through 6. And then there's a piece of paper that they have to fill out to like texture, appearance, flavor, overall, and then would you buy it? That is the number one thing. If you bake a lot at home And your friends and family are always like, oh my God, you're the best baker. I love this. You should open your own shop. Don't open your own shop. It's a lot of work. But if they do, then ask them if they're willing to pay $2 for what you just gave them. Then usually you end up finding out a lot more about it. When people have to pay for something, they're usually a lot more judgy than when you give them a free cookie. So I could like this, but would someone be willing to pay for it? Is always the first question. And if you have a bakery or want to own a bakery, you need to make what they want to pay for, especially in this economy. For a small mom and pop business, yeah. So everyone wants a chewy chocolate chip cookie. That's what we're gonna do. The winner gets to have their cookie be the chewy chocolate chip cookie, and they get a $35 gift certificate to the best hamburgers in the neighborhood. Shout out to Rome Burger, who does not watch Flosstube, but does make the best burger. Yeah. Guys, I don't know what to say. I've missed you all. Feels good to be back. Feels good to be stitching again. I don't know what I'm going to stitch on today, but I got to do something because I got to finish up the last few episodes of Veronica Mars. It's a great show. Yeah, and that's it. So from me to you, thank you for watching. And hopefully it will be sooner rather than later, but I just don't want to make any promises because you don't want to lie to stitchers. But I send a heartfelt hug to all you people who sat through all this. And yeah, till next time, happy stitching. Bye guys.